Having any opinion on Last of Us 2 other than it's a glowing beacon of inclusivity, groundbreaking mechanics, or the emotional weight with the punches of Schindler's List? You share that online, you're probably gonna...
I just wanted to have an opinion.
Yeah, fuck The Last of Us 2, bro. Why do my man Joel like that, bro?
And I'm not one to go into stuff like this, because ultimately judging a game is completely subjective. Love or hate, you gave it to the gamer, and the gamer ultimately decides its fate. I will say on the behalf of critics, when you make your hate a movement, it dulls the tip of the spear. Any of your jabs just don't hurt. And off behalf of the fans, like we saw with Mass Effect, it's totally disingenuous to alienate and punish one fan base, to capitalize superficially off another fan base while depending on the sales and reviews of the original fan base. Do you follow me so far? But that's totally not the focus for this video. That's just the opening. The goal of this video is to free any creator to pursue their vision in any way they see fit. If you're a development team, you should be able to make the game you want. If you're an author, you should be able to write the story that you want. I want to free all developers from the grips of fan influence. But to do this, I kind of have to tear down the house to build it up. In the case of Last of Us 2, many thought that the game was ultra-violent without the payoff narratively to touch your heart, a formula which usually equates to fun, especially in the post-apocalyptic settings, and when dealing with traumatic topics. Gritty sex scenes, monsters with oddly placed anatomy, and violence for the sake of violence, all the rage. A concept that usually would earn the ire from outlets and critics alike. Yet, The Last of Us 2 earned nothing but praise. A quick comparison with other PS4 exclusives validates that the rubric of what makes a good game isn't consistent with some critics, and even a broader search on how much violence is too much violence show a bigger inconsistency in what's acceptable. Dropping the narrator voice for a minute, I read through 118 or 19 critic reviews, and I found one by the Culture Vulture that kind of summed up my experience with The Last of Us 2. In trying to subvert expectations, The Last of Us Part 2 discards the best aspects of its predecessor to provide a rote revenge tale that is ill-considered, ending on a note that makes everything, all the violence, all the loss, all the struggle, feel utterly hopeless and pointless.
Speak on it, brah.
What is the gaming critic elite trying to telegraph to the player with on one hand saying the violence of mutilating dogs and pregnant women is too far, but modern warfare's white phosphorus scandal is too much? Most likely, what the gamer elite are trying to convey to the multitude of players out there is that there are other parts of this game that feel more important than holding on to a consistency of how much violence is too much violence. To drive this point home, that developers need to be free to create and be free of these restraints of diversity, politics, social commentary, subverting expectations, a story that everyone's happy with, the whole nine. I need to highlight that inconsistency even more. And it's not to tear down The Last of Us 2, as you might think. I'm actually on The Last of Us 2's side in this, just taking the long way to get around. Or maybe I have ulterior motives. Who knows? If sexually suggestive themes are too far and get censored in an over-the-top game like Devil May Cry 5, why is the infamous Owen and Abby sex scene fair game? Sekiro had a double whammy of controversy for being both too difficult and too brutally violent. On the difficulty front, reviewers wanted something easier to run through, and when the general public laughed them out of the room, the goalpost was then moved to the debate about accessibility in gaming. On another front, there were discussions of its brutality and violence. Yet, The Last of Us 2 skates from any detraction because any detractors would be haters. Cyberpunk 2077 faced just a downpour of criticism for misinterpreted views on trans people, insensitive racial commentary, and representation. All of which were proven to be out of context, and these ideas were created by a diverse crowd. What's the point of all this? It's that all you haters, I defend The Last of Us 2 till my dying breath. And I mean that. The developers wanted to telegraph the bleakness of the future, the repetitive cycle of violence, the fruitlessness of it all. And at the same time, Druckmann wanted to have a protagonist that weren't the same white male we admittedly have been forced with in the past. Most of the characters involved offered representation that we haven't seen before in a AAA game, And whether you like it or not, that is progress to having a more diverse gamer base in the medium. Ultimately, we should be able to overlook the flaws in the story, the needlessness of a sequel to a game that had a perfect ending, and whatever you feel about your favorite character, because that's the vision these developers and writers wanted to make. There are thousands of games out there. You don't have to play this one. But if you're willing to give it a chance, know it's someone else's vision created for you to enjoy. And if you can drop all the pretense going into it, I'm sure you'll enjoy the graphical marvel that it is. Appreciate the voice and motion capture actors, and maybe even get emotionally invested in the many characters. That's it. For all of you that want to cancel Sekiro because it was too hard or too violent. For anyone that wanted to have an accessibility meter on Souls games. If you're angry with the male and female representation in any game, whether a female or male created the avatar, for the love of God, take the same advice. There are literally thousands of games out there, highlighting every niche that could be created. Not every game that implements something you don't agree with deserves a crusade against it. I love a YouTube vid just like this one, and sometimes when they echo sentiments and opinions I agree with, it's cathartic to hear someone else get out what you wanted to scream to the heavens. But this shouldn't be ammo for a creator or a developer to change the vision they wanted to put forth, the vision that the artist wanted to share with you. When Cyberpunk 2077 comes out, please keep that same energy about violence, about marginalized groups, representation, and giving it a chance. The same notions that the people who gave praise to The Last of Us 2 are crying for. Because the last decade in this supremacy of whose stories should be told in the land of gaming has left us all just hating having any discussion. Anyone who truly loved games loved sharing a part that they loved about the game without hearing, of course you would love that, you cis male. A girl's not that strong. Why would a girl be that strong? It's become a minefield that it will explode any moment that you say something that just isn't 100% right. And I imagine that this plea tugs on the heartstrings of anyone that truly loves gaming, that truly loves discourse, and truly loves participating in the community of the purest form of artistic expression.
I feel so appreciative that my boyfriend doesn't play video games. I know when you're saying, no, it's social, and no, they're not just nerds. It's still a game.
Short, I've been playing games for most of my life.
Except I'm doing video games. So it's not exactly a fandom. I'm not a fan of video games. I actually had to learn a lot about video games in the process of making this.
But I do get a sense sometimes now among certain young people, and this is accelerated by social media, there is this sense sometimes of the way of me making change is to be as judgmental as possible about other people.
Right-wing ideologies have been overrepresented and dominant throughout the history of video games. Although affected by context, video games have long focused on the expulsion of aliens, Space Invaders to XCOM, fear of impure infection, Half-Life to The Last of Us, border control, Missile Command to Plants vs. Zombies, territory acquisition, Command and Conquer to Splatoon,
And we
empire
watched the
building,
DVD,
civilization
yeah,
to
and he put it
Tropico,
in like a Sony
Princess
PlayStation. Oh
Recovery,
shit! Did you really mouse
Mario
show to?
Zelda, and restoration
Like, it's hard enough to
of
get text
natural
messages back
harmony.
from guys. I don't need to now compete.
Less people were just making petitions and forcing writers to change their vision to selfishly tailor every experience out there, creative or otherwise, to their own wants. But that wouldn't be your goal, would it?